When you're facing a serious disease, time is literally everything. But what happens when a treatment you desperately need is stuck in a pipeline that can take more than a decade to get through? Well, today we're diving into the express lanes of drug regulation, the special pathways designed to get life-saving medicines to patients a whole lot faster.
It's the one question that families, doctors, and scientists are always asking. The journey from a discovery in a lab to the medicine in your local pharmacy is just incredibly long, it's complex, and if you're the one waiting for a cure, or even just for a little more time, every single day feels like an eternity.
And this really puts it all into perspective. 10 to 15 years. That's a huge chunk of a person's life. It's an unimaginable wait when you're fighting a serious illness. And this staggering timeline is exactly the problem that drug regulators all over the world have been trying to solve.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start with that 10-year wait, just to set the stage. Then we'll introduce these express lanes. We're going to break down exactly how the main pathways work, see how they can be stacked together for an even bigger impact, and tackle that crucial question: is faster still safe? And finally, we'll look at why all of this really matters. All right, first things first. We have to understand the standard route. To really get why we need these faster pathways, you've got to see why the default setting takes so incredibly long. So the traditional path is, well, it's a marathon. It all starts with basic research, then it moves into preclinical studies. After that, it has to go through years and years of human clinical trials to prove that it's both safe and that it actually works. And only then, after all that, does it face this final exhaustive review by regulators. Now, this whole process is absolutely vital for protecting public health, but man, it creates a massive bottleneck for urgent treatments.
And that bottleneck is precisely why regulators developed what you can think of as express lanes on the drug development highway.
So the official name for these is expedited pathways, and you can just think of them as a set of special tools, all designed for one single purpose: to help the most promising drugs for the most serious diseases get through the system way more efficiently, basically letting them bypass all the usual traffic jams. Now, the goal here isn't just about being fast, it's about being smart. The whole system is designed to strike this really crucial balance. It's about encouraging early collaboration, cutting out unnecessary waiting periods, and getting treatments to patients sooner. All while, and this is the most important part, preserving the incredibly strict standards for safety and effectiveness. This is not about cutting corners, period.
So how do they actually pull this off? Well, regulators have this toolkit with 3 main programs that we're going to focus on. Let's break them down one by one.
First up is something called Fast Track. This is all about spotting promise early on. A drug can get this designation if it's for a serious condition and if it's trying to fill what's called an unmet medical need. That just means either there's no treatment at all or this new one could be way better than what's currently available. So what does Fast Track actually get you? Well, the huge benefit is dialogue. With Fast Track, drug developers get to talk to regulators a lot more often, and they get early feedback that helps them design better, smarter clinical trials. They also get access to something called a rolling review. It basically means they can submit sections of their final application as they finish them, instead of having to wait and drop a giant mountain of paperwork on regulators all at once. It just prevents a huge logjam at the very end. Okay, next up in the toolkit is breakthrough therapy, and this one is a major step up. This is reserved for drugs that are showing early clinical evidence of being a substantial improvement over anything else out there. So we're not talking about something that's just a little bit better, we're talking about potential game changers. And this gets right to the heart of the difference between the two. Think of it like this. Fast Track is granted based on a drug's potential. The idea behind it makes sense. But to get breakthrough therapy, you need to show preliminary data. You need actual results from patients that suggest, hey, this is really working. It's the difference between a promising idea and a promising reality.
And the final tool we're going to look at is priority review. This one is all about one thing: shortening the finish line. It's about speeding up that last crucial evaluation right before an approval decision is made.
So a standard review of a new drug application usually takes the FDA about 10 months. But with priority review, regulators set a goal of making that decision in just 6 months. Shaving 4 months off that final wait, that can make an unbelievable difference for a patient who's just holding on for that last bit of hope.
Now, here's what's really cool. These tools aren't just used in isolation. In fact, their real power comes from how they can be combined, how they can build on each other to create a truly accelerated journey from the lab to the patient. So let's just walk through a quick example. Imagine there's a new gene therapy for a rare childhood disease. Early on, based on its promise, it gets fast-track status, which opens up all those lines of communication. Then, the first small clinical trial shows just remarkable results, way better than anything seen before. Boom! That triggers a breakthrough therapy designation, and now the drug gets all hands-on-deck guidance. And then finally, when the complete application is submitted, it's a shoe-in for priority review, speeding up that final decision. You see? Each step builds on the last one.
Of course, all this talk about speed and express lanes brings up the single most important question you could ask. If you speed up the process, do you end up compromising safety?
And the answer from regulators is a very firm no. The core principle here is that these pathways streamline the process, they don't shorten the science. The integrity of the evaluation, the high bar for proving safety and effectiveness, none of that changes.
This rigorous oversight is still completely in place. So regulators are still evaluating all of the clinical evidence, they're still enforcing super strict manufacturing standards, and often they even require companies to conduct post-approval studies to keep monitoring long-term safety even after a drug is already on the market. Speed and safety are absolutely designed to go hand in hand.
So, okay, we've gone through all the mechanics, all the definitions, but let's bring this back to the real world. What is the actual tangible impact of these programs on people's lives?
This is where you see the life-changing results. These pathways have been absolutely instrumental in fields like cancer research, getting new targeted therapies and immunotherapies approved in record time. They've brought the first-ever treatments to patients with rare genetic diseases who literally had zero options before. So these aren't just some administrative changes. For so many people, these are lifelines.
And in the end, this entire complex system is really built around one single shared goal that unites everybody, from the scientists in the lab, to the regulators at the agency, to the doctors in the clinic. And that goal is to bring effective treatments to the patients who need them as safely and as efficiently as humanly possible.
So it's clear we've gotten a lot better at making the approval process faster for our most important new medicines. But that leaves us with one final and really critical question. With science moving at this incredible pace, is the next great challenge no longer about getting a drug approved, but about ensuring access? How do we make sure these amazing, groundbreaking treatments don't just get a green light, but that they actually reach every single patient who could benefit from them? You know, that's the challenge for tomorrow.